Okay. No. But and
Hello. Welcome back to the Major 2 semi-finals. We only have 3 more games left until we find out who will be taking the final 15 spots in next weekend's grand finals. Lots of big name jurors have already booked their spots, but we've got a few outliers who are waiting and lurking in the lower bracket to see if they can prove that they have what it takes to go to get another major final. And I'm sure we have a few names who've never made it. So we could be seeing some new future stars tonight. And I've got some stars you'll know very well. Levin and Mini Minor rejoining me. Levin, did you have a fruitful break? Were you pacing up and down, nervous about what's about to happen?
I wouldn't say nervous. I don't really get too nervous, you know. I like to stay cool, calm, collected, you know. So maybe Mini Minor and guys like that get nervous, but me, nah, no nerves.
You know what? I wish that we could roll a clip of you in Copenhagen at Global Championships being like, Copenhagen, we ain't going nowhere. I wouldn't call that calm and collected. I would call it very cool.
Excited, yeah. Getting everyone excited,
yeah.
you know.
I get excited just thinking about it. Mini Miner, do you want to try and hype us up for this one?
I feel like I would be doing it disservice, or Levin disservice, if I was trying to match what he did, right? I don't think anyone could do that. We hopefully have more of that to look forward to later on this year. But for now, it's lowers, it's last chance saloon, top 15 go through. This is really where it all starts to get real, and where a lot of our team's fate's decided.
Minnie, let's do it together, you know? Oh, you
Can we?
Reddit!
I can't do it like
wheeling
you.
again.
I'm not 6'8". I don't have the lung capacity to do that, you know? It's not possible.
I like to see you try one day. Maybe in Dallas Mini Miner, we'll give you the microphone. Let's take a look at the lower bracket lobby list, though. We're definitely going to see a few names that we recognize. One of those names being Marius and Sanguild, Levin.
Yeah, really excited for Marius and Sanguild to sort of use as a stage, an opportunity to really showcase why they've been hyped up so much. At an incredible Major 1, surprised a lot of people, have stayed on a high, especially Marius, right, as an individual, has just been shining, glowing throughout the season. It'd be a shame to not see him get another chance to do it again in Grand Finals. Hopefully, this can be their 3 games.
We're seeing Trulex and Chicho as well. We've spoken a lot about this duo today, although we haven't really seen too much of them because they've been going down off spawn a lot in that upper bracket. Very, very important 3 games for these guys right now. They don't want to miss out on another Grand Finals. Of course, they missed out on Major number 1. It's going to be difficult for them as well because, of course, if they do qualify the Grand Finals, they're going to be contested in Grand Finals as well, more often or more likely than not. So I'm kind of concerned about how this duo are going to do. I'm not concerned about them qualifying through, but we'll see how it all unfolds throughout the rest of the day.
There are only 15 spots though, guys, so it's going to be incredibly tight and tough at the top. Actually, looking at that lobby list, there are so many more names that I recognize than I was expecting to be honest. I mean, obviously we've seen a fair bit from Sky and Scroll. They've been in and out of the upper bracket. Also for Nine and Moneymaker, they just couldn't get it done yesterday, Levin.
Yeah, I mean, look, Frankie, FNCS is a cutthroat business. Do you know what I'm saying? There's always names that miss out that you think, oh goodness, how has he not made it to FNCS, right? So I think it's inevitable you'll get that. In the case of Fanine and Moneymaker, again, 2 very popular names within EU, right? But it's about making sure they can match that level and secure top 15 here today. I mean, do I think they can do it? Yeah, why not, man? Moneymaker, they've got talent. That's what I've got to say. They've got talent for sure. It's about applying that talent to this lobby appropriately.
Right, well, I don't think we should delay any longer. I think we should head back to our casters, to Carter and Jacob, to kick off the lower bracket lobby.
Thank you so much, Frankie, Levin, and Minnie. The foundation has been laid, Takata. This is officially the last chance, the last 3 games any of these teams still in the FNCS have to make that Grand Finals.
Last opportunity, Jacob. It's been 3 days of semifinals, now on the 3rd day. Upper bracket has concluded. We had 25 duos that qualified to the grand finals of the EU FNCS. Now we will have 15 more duos qualifying, the top 15 duos after the 3 matches from today's lower bracket. I'm excited, Jacob. It's going to be a lot of fun.
No, it definitely is. And honestly, just seeing the superstars that have already advanced to the grand finals, and then looking at some of this lobby list, hearing Levin, Minnie, and Frankie break down some of the teams that we are going to see here today is a huge surprise, but that time has come. Game number 1 and the last set of games starts now.
The pressure is on for these teams. In the upper bracket, they said, okay, if we don't get top 25, at least we have another 3 matches to do it once again in the lower bracket. But this is literally the last chance for all of these duos. You get 3 opportunities, Jacob. 1 big game is all it takes.
Just a big moment. We've seen it in the last series of events, but since it's top 20 or top 15 instead of top 25, that point estimate is going to jump. So a win alone, depending on how many elims, might not necessarily be enough, depending on how you do in the last 2 games. And Kudo, Cheatin', they make their way back over from Grim Gates. No more Malabuka Mustache. You see Finn Kenty over off to the side as well. So a triple contest right out of the gates at Grim Gates, and then a 4th team around the outskirts. This is almost just as busy as it was on day 1.
You can see now a lot of the players who are dropping at Grim's Gate before having already qualified. New names here to battle it out. Just like at the Reckless Railways. As we can take a look at Sky, I was going to say, where's Scroll at? Where's your duo, Sky? As he's been left alone, but is not getting chased by the opposing team here. So he's going to have a little bit of time to figure out his game plan. How's the reboot going to come through?
Yeah, just unfortunately enough for Sky and Scroll, this has kind of been the struggles in a lot of their qualification opportunities. It was Yanis and Flixie first. They kind of won out in a lot of those off-spawn battles, and now they're just kind of going down early. Luckily, like you mentioned, Scroll might have the reboot card that Sky has in his inventory, so he could try to get the reboot back. And you can see from all around the map, these early game fights mean so much. Getting separated from your teammate is all it really takes. He tried to backtrack and reunite, and you can see in his mini-map, his teammate already made the decision to abandon a play like this.
That quickly. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes just getting out and going for the later reboot is the better play. Now, Thomas HD Queasy being qualified. Less action here in Mount Olympus, but still two duos battling it out. Head-to-head as no big shots have been connected, but right as I say that, quick knockdown onto Stillion, the 2v1 now for Ice and Doom.
Yeah, big Ice and Doom right here. They're the ones that contested Queasy and Thomas all upper bracket long, and they're ready to take a challenge. When you already fight some of the biggest superstars in the region, coming into the last chance like this, you have to be brimming with confidence through and through, or at least you got to fake it till you make it. And I think with a first elimination like that, that confidence and the momentum here in this fight is going to continue to grow. But you see, now that they have a huge numbers advantage, they're taking their time, they're slowing things down, knowing the only hope that this player has is to either disengage, get the reboot, or just to fight it out, or just wait altogether. Uh-oh.
You see now, looked for the angle, unable to connect the initial one, but just the tap, tap, tap to take him out there. Quick, clean execution of the two eliminations here. Mount Olympus now has been claimed. Ice and Doom have it to themselves. I do see a duo kind of the outskirts, but I don't think they're gonna be looking for too much action, especially that it's already finished.
Yeah, they took down the players they got to worry about most, but from POI to POI, you can see Brawler's Battleground contested by Seb and Forzen. That's a nice shot. That's a good first shot, but unfortunately enough, back-to-back shots fired back, and Forzen with a nice little hop and a pop to take him down finally. And he's able to get the revive before his teammate is quickly finished up. But the mini-map, that third-party team, they heard it go down, and now they're closing the distance.
Getting a quick look at how this happened. Oh, Thunderbolt of Zeus from the skies. 3 clean shots. I love the animation on that ability. Looks so clean. Now Hedra, Kirwa, making use of another mythic water bending. But ouch.
Overstays his welcome, peeking just a little bit too much. Forzen on the other side, trying to finish up on that damage. Hedra is down. Nice shot there from him trying to escape, leaving Kirwa by himself. But you can see Forzen say, look at this loot. Let's heal up again. Another individual where they just kind of separate their opponents and bring them down to 2 separate 2v1s.
Chase continues. Pop shot into the bush. Looking to see just in case. Wherever they might be hiding, but going further and further away. The crack comes through. But this is going to take a bit of time to finish him off.
Yeah. Opponent's just hoping he covers enough distance in the water. By the time
he's swimming all right.
Hopefully he brought his water wings so he doesn't sink here, but he's covering distance right now.
He is swimming all right.
Oh, here we go. How good is the aim from Forzen with the projectile, the drop off. His teammates coming with the water bending ability, so ammo is not going to be an issue here, especially with the projectile. But you see him just trying to build as much as he can, just wide out in the open. This is just one of those situations I wouldn't hope on anybody, let alone in the last chance to qualify for the grand finals, but he's going to be able to escape. It's just the question now that remains to cut is, does he have the reboot card? Because if he has to go back into that, I wish him the best of luck.
I hope they don't miss out on qualification by 4 points just by not getting that elimp. That would be a tragedy. Pixie Juan, we've seen a lot of them today. We'll see if now in the lower bracket it could be their time to shine. Looking for a bit of action, classy court side, but decided for the disengagement. There's a lot of duos in the surrounding area, not just the ones that were in that box fight, so they do have to be careful here.
Yeah, and you add in the fact that they don't really have heals for the HP between the both of them. team they were running against isn't even the one that's focusing them as now. That's a whole new team entering into the mix. Pixie and Juan, aka Wox, just trying to rotate straight through Classy Courts. They see the zone is moving towards the south portion of the map, so it does look like they're going to float around the eastern edge to try to find a slow spot of the zone that they can enter in for free.
Taking a look once again at Grim Gate. Marius here. Where is Sangild at? Right beside him. They've got two separate boxes here, just kind of eyeballing the location. You can see in the minimap how many duos, though, there really is close by. Sangild realizing the danger, grouping up now. Used a bit of mats to do so in a chug splash, but much better than getting knocked down.
Yeah, that was almost a disaster waiting to strike. Just a little bit of separation between Sangild and Marius. You saw that duo looking like they just wanted to pounce on the Sangild. He quickly reacted, builded over, closed the distance between him and Marius, which kind of makes it a little bit more risky of a fight if you're going to take it. So they're just going to continue to rotate on out, find a better spot. So they can do something very, very similar to this. Trulex and Chicho, the struggles from the upper bracket at a singular point due to those off spawns. It does look like this time around, though, they do get it uncontested. So back to the strat book, back to the blueprint that got him this far.
Couple shots from the DMR come through, nothing connecting. Should have more opportunities as players continue to rotate through the restored reels here. They are using their ramps to have a bit of cover, can do more right-hand peeks, especially if you don't have those bush bombs.
Where you kind of see, like I kind of mentioned, due to this being the last chance for a lot of teams to qualify, you're seeing how slow players are getting dropped off the lobby. 84 players still left alive, even though there's still some fights going on, and that can change as Pixie walks. Pixie's already down. Juan's by himself, aka Wox. Kaido's just trying to get out alive. 14 HP.
No.
That's going to be a trade, but only a momentary one. Dea just goes and gets that elimination. Has a chance for the rebuy, but in comes Sky, in comes Scroll, all the way from Reckless Railways. Oh,
Third party.
shot.
And just like that, not even 2 seconds. And the elimination comes through. Sky and Scroll now. A little bit of extra loot to pick up.
That's important because Sky and Scroll, when we first saw them on the day, I think Sky was a solo trying to get his teammate back, which means they probably lost the fight, didn't get a lot of surge. So taking that opportune moment, rotate towards the nose, sacrifice some heals, some HP, because you know you're going deep in the zone, just to kind of finish a fight like that. It's not a ton for your Storm Surge, but you know how these lobbies have been going. Some early Storm Surge is better than no early Storm Surge.
That's true. Probably some of the most difficult Storm Surge lobbies we've seen in Fortnite competitive, especially with the current mobility meta. Astral Art skill now choosing to refarm on the rotate. Talked about this earlier, but it is crucial to maximize your efficiency in terms of gathering materials, not just in the early game and your mid game route, but even in the last moving zones when you rotate through some area that might have some trees, some rocks. Those 4 or 5 builds could be the difference in qualifying.
I like that from Astral and Art skill. They have the 4 floppers, and you'd think they'd kind of use them pretty quickly, especially since they're rotating. But because they have those dashes and the zone is moving towards the south, a lot of teams have rotated, so they're just kind of dashing, knowing where these fire pits are. They're going to box up on one, use it to save a lot of the resources that they've had up until this point. Marius and Sangild just dipping the toes into the water, getting a feel for those dashes, whether they want to get aggressive or not. They know it's a huge part of their game plan since they land over towards the underworld.
Trying to see if a snipe can get connected here. No shot's going to be taken. Basically on the borderline of the zone here. Playing edge zone. Can be good for finding those players. Rotating in late, but Sangild gonna get headshotted. Forced to use a bit of shields now as bad sniper. Can he be a good sniper here with a player rotating through? No shot connected.
Ooh, they're doing a little bait.
That yeah.
Seeing one person was trying to peek through the window, draw bad sniper's attention, sniper over the top. Big bush bomb on the other side is not allowing bad sniper to figure out exactly where that player's positioned in for the shots to come in, and just the annoyance, the persistence to just keep tearing down these builds so they get an angle, and finally one is going to be able to sneak through. landing on the bad sniper. You can see they have to be careful. Marius on the other side of the map is finally going to take down Artskill. Which Astro and Artskill did stop on that fire pit, so that's a sign of weakness if you look right enough.
Now, gotta be careful as the zone is closing. Pressure for these duos. Gets a huge crack though. Even the knock boxes his knockdown player. Can recuperate now all the loot, all the materials. That is a huge pickup for Marius here.
Yeah, great amount of surge as well. Continue to add onto that total. It's 2 eliminations from Marius and Sangil. With how hyped this team has actually been, some of the problems has been that of Surge. They can make it into these end games, but they're forced into fights as Marius just makes it look easy. Boxes him up, takes him down, separates him from his teammates. And now with Surge and a full loadout that they just boasted up even more, they can kind of focus on the rotation and positioning from here on out.
Jakey tweet. They know something's around here. It's Belusi that's hiding. They found him. As that's a quick way to clean it out.
Yeah, so far away, and what started off a little slow is speeding up just a little bit. Gonna have similar surge as that last couple games that we played in the upper bracket. Jakey and Twy, 2 eliminations there. All they have to do is worry about zone. They have open field almost in front of them, so quick and easy rotation as long as they stay on task. As we continue to look around the lobby, Trulex is now in the tower. That's because Chicho was actually taken down not too long ago. So Trulex now by himself, hoping maybe even the zone continues to move south. That way they can probably get that reboot back up at restored reels. We almost got a couple minutes to wait for that to even be a possibility.
Kentic looks like got elimination as well. You can see the center map is the popular location for a lot of these Storm Surge bases, especially when the zone pulls to this area. Chicho having gone down though is going to make it quite difficult for Trulex. But nothing's impossible, Jacob. We've seen bigger comebacks happen before in these lobbies.
Yeah, because even though it's a little different with the top 15, you kind of need one good game and then maybe a decent game after that. Trulex, he's able to get this reboot back up. It won't change much in terms of their surge. So no one's going to probably push on over to this position. So Trulex still has the lay of the land high up in the tower. But there's just no real opportunities being given to him. Everybody's boxed up. Nobody's peeking. And if they do, it's probably a small window or a portion of their cone that Trulex just doesn't have an angle on.
300 above for Lucia and Bang. Great position too, but with Peace King coming close, they might not be above, which is going to force them to look for some shots here. And this might not be an engagement they want to take, but it's going to be one they have to take.
Yeah, now that they're 70 below, they have no choice. They try to be proactive early on in this game and have a little bit more control over their destiny, but that time has come and gone. Luckily, though, as of now, they are isolated on top of Rift Island, but that could change in the blink of an eye due to the zip lines, the rifts that are all below. And pings, and Lusha just trying to play defensive here. You almost got to guess with Storm Surge activated, a team playing as aggressive as they are, that they are suffering the surge. So just holding on to your builds might be a recipe for success, but the next team starts to come in, that third party. Chances to disrupt this instead of just taking that line of sight on the edge is going to be real, especially with it on the line.
Pressure is on now. As Lucia Ping don't even need to take too many engagements here. They have used quite a bit of materials though. Has so many duos in the surrounding area now, just kind of taking shots at each other. You have to decide kind of what the game plan is here. No rotation has to be made as zone is still on the Rift Island here. With Lens and Tidy applying that pressure, they don't have a lot of options.
You can see though that they instantly kind of took the elevation all around where they were currently boxed up, taking away options from what they can actually do. They can't really peek out anymore without it being a little bit of a risk to try to get surge of their own. So it almost feels like they're just stagnant in this position unless they want to give up this entire box that they've made. And you can see Lens and Tidy, they're the ones that are going to have that sight advantage on top of Rift Island, where they watch the players below, and they can watch the ones around the island so they can get their surge.
Just 37 above for Shimoki and Wheat. That's not a position to be comfortable. As the gas station explodes, the positioning changes here. They saw some duos up on that ridge. It is an option to take a couple shots, but you can see there's more duos now on the borderline of zone. They could be looking back at them. They're kind of just looking for any options here, but now just 18 seconds till zone closes. The Storm Surge activates. They need to start finding some shots. 62, that's huge, but they're going to need more.
Yeah, they just go on the positive side of Storm Surge instantly at that first shot. Just like you said, they know it's not over just yet. That can change in an instant. And right now we have 70 players left alive, and that's going to have to drop down to about 60 players, so 11 need to go down for Storm Surge to deactivate. And for teams like Shimoki and Wheat, who are kind of positioned down in the dirt, they don't really have any elevation. Getting those Storm Surge tags are not going to be easy.
Next squeeze now. Forced into action once again. Chain of Hades, though, in the 1 versus 2. Is it possible? Just a couple more swings might be all it takes, but with 22 HP to work with, one shot will take him out here. Flowberry Fizz, though, with 100 charge, as they're going to heal each other up.
Yeah, Buzz did a good job of just pushing it to the other side of that box. That was almost looking bleak for Egg Squeeze. But now the tables will turn. Robin and Juve from the top side steal the cover, forces them to reposition. And with so many teams towards the south side of the map, in and around fencing fields, it's not going to be easy to find a free rotation over. So this is why you see that priority in rotations come through, and the timing having to be perfect. If you're on the front side in the green zone, you're going to be one of the first teams to move, and everybody else behind you has to wait in sections for the next team to move, so they can have that safe rotation. Otherwise, they're going to risk rotating parallel and probably going down.
There's so many duos that are rotating right now. We can see Ice and Doom. We're able to pick up 2, but they're also far away from the zone. So with so many duos having to rotate in, it opens up the opportunity for the ones that are already based up in the zone to kind of take shots at them. 135 below, though.
Just the current position where they're at, or at least before, zone pulling in the direction, it might ease up on some of that pressure, but they're just too far down low, and they don't really have builds to build this box any higher, so they just have to wait for a lot of these teams to come to them. And a lot of those shots are going to land onto Moneymaker. Weed actually gets the knock, so it's going to help in terms of surge, in terms of loot, but they are barely above that threshold.
They still got to do more work. The job is not done. Great loadout to work with, but we can look at Ju and Robin. As Robin has already been eliminated, Ju now is forced to clutch it up here, but Storm Surge is taking just 2 med kits to out heal it. Shortly will not have any shield to work with. I don't see a lot of options to come out of this on top, Jacob.
Yeah, especially since zone is doing so much damage. It's too early to try to stagger yourself, so you're getting ticked every couple of seconds by the 25, and seconds to go, he was taking damage to Storm. Only 1 med kit left. 2 more players still need to go down. Out healing, I'm not sure is going to be a possibility unless he gets this one off in time. No! He got to 24 by the 25 tick, and even Zangy gets chopped down. Just a surge again throughout the entirety of the weekend, Takata. It's forcing players who aren't proactive in the early game to do exactly that. They have no choice but to try to get no box, to try to get their surge, because at this stage of the game, everybody's boxed up, as you can see.
Devastating. A lot of these players. You saw there was only a few of them who are in zone, a majority having to rotate. And even the ones that are positioned in zone like Shimoki and Wheat, they're only 17 above. They have to land their shots here and everybody rotating in, but with the window open that big, you know the fire is going to be returning towards them as well.
You're really seeing why this season is, you know, what it is, where one player is carrying the DMR, trying to get shots in the distance. The other one is carrying either a Thunderburst SMG or their water bending ability, so that way they can try to spray through some of these boxes and not leave them with the DMR, because you know as well as I do, if both players have a DMR, you're almost leaving it to a close range battle. And Marius and Sangild, they don't have that comfortability of the zone just yet, but they're inching themselves closer and closer each and every step that they take. And they're getting damage along the way, which is why you see them 115 above the threshold. A big difference from when last time we saw them.
Actually landing crucial shots here. Looking for more opportunities, cannot connect with the snipe, but maybe with the Thunderburst, at least a couple bullets. Tidy continuing to build up. He has been dropped. This opens up some shots there. It's only going to be a 25, but better than nothing. As now the regroup with Sandguild is going to come through.
Like that view of the map, Doom and Ice rotating on over towards the edge. Trulex by himself, but he has the front side of the zone. And these are big points. These are massive points for Trulex, considering how early on in the game Chicho did go down. So you got to think every single one of these points that they're going to earn in game one is off the back of Trulex. Nice shots there to keep him ahead of the curve in terms of surge. And what this is doing here is building the confidence, building the momentum. So if Trulex can manage a top 15, a top 10 by himself, that's got to build that confidence for the next two games to get them within range. It is top 15, and as of now, the projected point total is going to be around 88. So he needs 70 more to go before he's almost looking like a lot.
It's about 29, 30 points a match. So if Trulex can get 30 points this match, then he's en route in terms of consistency to qualify. But playing as a solo is always difficult. Just 28 players up, though. You can see how damaging Storm Surge has been for a lot of these duos. Trulex is doing a great job staying on the far side of zone here ahead, though, especially if it ends up pulling towards him. Wish it did.
Yeah, great scenario for him. Plus, he has that bush right next to his box. He has multiple angles he could take if he continues to try to get surge, but 27 players still left alive. And the first team that you see that has some sort of control over the high ground is to be here, Briss and Skvi, but they still got a good distance to cover. And if they don't have those dashes, it's not going to be easy for them to maintain that position.
Good news is, though, using the natural animation from that hill, they are very high up compared to the other teams, so I don't think they're going to get contested anytime soon, especially having put themselves ahead of the zone here. Shimoki Wheat, though, on the other hand, now recycling a bit of previous builds, looking to see if they can use that Flowberry to make their way onto zone.
Or others are healthy with the heals, have a ton of builds, others not so much. And on the other side of things, you got Marius in the zone fighting for every single inch. They still have the dashes left over as well. That's planning for the future. Pressure coming in from Jake Buka and Cringe on the other side, but Marius, Sandguild, they hold the line. They don't want to let them enter the box, but their persistence is going to be key, and it's also going to be their demise. Marius peeks through the cover, gets the piece control at the perfect time, getting the shields down low, forcing them to disperse in two different directions, and Cringe is going to fall now that Jake Buka is no longer there to save the day.
Quick little refresh for Marius. Sandguild puts them at 4. But Finn's not happy with that, as now he's dropped down, looking to see what happened to the party. Where did they go? I think I see Sandguild too, right behind. Not looking healthy at all. No shields to work with. Low HP, as now they're healing up. Flowberry Fizz getting put to good use here. Zone does pull back. So now the duos that barely made it in should have a bit of time to breathe.
And one of them's going to drop to the backside of zone. Finn's going to be left by himself, but he finds that final elimination onto Jake Buka. That gets him elimination points, it gets him placement points, and it gets him one step closer to that top 15, but it doesn't end here. Shots coming in from Marius, shots coming in from Sandguild. They're going to find that elimination, bring their elimination total to 5, and they're on the hunt for more. Forzen, Seb, they're in their line of sight. Shields are going to get cracked, momentarily distracted by the high ground, though, but that's going to be Sandguild leading them to greener pastures, immediately knowing the situation they're in, and beats every team to the punch to the front side of zone.
Looking strong. They could use a bit more materials. They were second height, now forced to drop down low, just like Shimoki and Wheat, but that's a huge knock onto Lucia. Gonna have to pick up those materials, but now so many players have dropped down low as they don't have any more mats to work with. All the chaos is unfolding in the dirt.
Oh, he gets the Zeus medallion at the last second. Marius now going to be able to run wild, both figuratively and literally, as he inches into the top 5, but his teammate goes down, all left by himself, and he gets that second height, pressured from above, pressured from below. There are teams all around him, but he's quick thinking, trying to stay out alive, but he goes down. Top 4 position for Marius.
Scree from above, dropping down now for the aggression, takes one. Just one more shot needed to connect. It's a 2 versus 1 now on the lost player. There's still one more, actually. I was wrong. He gets knocked down. Where's the last player, Jacob?
Probably the backside of zone, healing off, and it's Doom and Ice, quad contested, upper bracket, triple contested, lower bracket. Even though they didn't win the game, they got a ton of points, but it's Risk and Skvi. We thought they were going to do it in day 1 and day 2, but they pull up here in day 3 of the lower bracket and score big time.
Great way to close it out for both duos there in the last moments of the game. The projected points is around 88. So if you start off in the top 5, even with a victory royale, that is a great way to set you up for success in this lower bracket.
Yeah, you're seeing the changes from the win and you're in to the consistency format. Who is really up for that challenge? Because grand finals around the corner, all consistency throughout 12 games and 2 days. So this is a true test to any of these players' testament.
You can see how they closed it out here from dropping down. You have to know when to play aggressive, even with the floppers in the inventory. It was that 2v1, and Doom, the duo that was contesting Thomas HD and Queasy, got second place there by tagging a bit of Storm. So with the amount of points they secured, hopefully that should be more than enough to help them feel confident for these upcoming 2 matches.
Yeah, but you got to realize, even though it's 3 short games, it's consistency throughout those 3 games, and you cannot let up off the gas at a moment's notice, especially if you're landing at one of those spots that are contested. But game 1 is already done and over with. 2 more games to go, but I'm going to throw it right back on over to the desk to let us know what the leaderboard looks like after 1.
Thank you, guys. It feels like a few days ago we were singing the praises of Chris and Skivvy, and we were like, yeah, these boys, they could be taking a victory royale. They could be booking their spot straight away in the grand finals. And then, Levin, we didn't talk about them again until now.
Yeah.
Until now, kings of the lower bracket.
I mean, look, this was their first sort of sense of adversity this season. Things have been very smooth sailing for them. It's the reason why everyone's been hyping them up so much. They've been incredibly impressive. But in that upper bracket mini minor, they just had so many problems of spawn, so much messiness around Grim Gate meant people were sort of stealing loot from them. They weren't able to figure out Surge, much like a lot of other people were. They kept getting rolled in box fights, people were just W-keying them and they couldn't really handle it, and it wasn't something they were experiencing leading up to their FNC semi-finals. And my question for them, Mini, was how are they going to let the adversity, you know, how are they going to deal with that, right, ultimately? And I was worried that for a team that's a bit newer to the limelight, they might struggle, they might fall underneath that, and it's good to see here in game 1 of Lowers, they definitely are not, right? They are fighting and fighting strong and fighting from high like you predicted they would do.
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned for this duo when we were hyping them up on the first day of the upper bracket. By the end of the day, they came 50th, very much last, right? And I was like, oh, well, actually, what's happened here? We broke down their strategy. We said it was almost a bulletproof strategy. Nothing could go wrong. It transferred really well into the single lobby formats, into the set lobbies. And we thought this is a surefire win. We didn't expect it to take this long. I know I didn't myself as well. Now, though, they've just chucked all that out the window. They said, right, that strategy you guys broke down really nicely towards the west of the Grimgate area. We're not going there anymore. They decided to land at that area that Mongrel and Savage always land at, towards the east of Pleasant Piazza, and it seems to be working out quite well. So I like to see that. I like to see this duo thinking on their feet a little bit, showing us that they're very good players. They haven't just got a very good strategy.
I think that's really cool to see as well, because I think that's one of the things we're not necessarily seeing the duos try so much, taking that big risk when they are struggling with elements of their game. Obviously, the big focus is mid-game and trying to conquer Surge at the moment, although I feel like the zones in that round were maybe a little bit kinder, Levin, than the ones we've seen so far tonight.
I wouldn't say so, but I would say that when it comes to those guys, right, a lot of their problems did stem from off sport, more so than I think we've seen with other players, which is probably why they felt more comfortable, like, okay, maybe we just need to switch things up and try go somewhere where we ain't gonna have problems off spawn, where they were having quite a few issues on Friday.
Let's take a look at the standings after that first game. We've only got 2 more left, guys. Only 3 games in total in this lower bracket. Remember, 15 spots are up for grabs, so this top 10 will be very satisfied with that first game. I'm curious to see, though, the second page, if that's okay, if we're allowed to go straight there, because I actually kind of want to see where Trulex got to. Trulex and Chicho, I should say, because Trulex became a solo super early in the game. I think round 4 we saw him on screen and he was already on his own. He actually managed to clutch 38 points. You can see him in 13th place with his duo there. And so I feel like maybe things are looking up for this duo, Mini Miner.
Yeah, nice to see. I mean, Trulex was just clutching up like a dream right there for that duo. And as Takata and Jacob mentioned, the predictions are around that 88 point mark, right? So that's 38 points that he got as a solo in that one game. Really, really nicely played. We'd expect it, maybe not expect it because he's a solo, but for his stature, for his experience as a player, you wouldn't put it past him, I should say, say, probably, when it comes to Trulex. You know, we know exactly how he's played throughout the years. Of course, he's an FNCS champion. This is a third-place team at the Global Championships as well. So it's nice to see them get off to a good start, because I think I speak for all of us. We want to see them at Globals. And
Definitely. I'm chomping at the bit, though, to talk about the duo that came fourth in that last game. That's Marius and Sangold, because when we're seeing players being a bit tentative and almost like not even going for Surge because they're so worried about getting a low placement, it's a joy to have Marius and Sangold fighting everyone they see, Levin.
Well, yeah, they had to, right? You saw that on the stream. They were also struggling with Surge, much like everybody else, but they did a great job of dealing damage when the opportunities presented themselves, man. I mean, we know how monstrous of fighters they are. It's been highlighted as one of the main features of why they're successful. Last season's meta favored teams who had a great ability to fight, and so whenever they're in situations where fighting's going to be the only way to get yourself out of trouble, you can almost count on these guys to make a play that is worthy of some sort of respect or acknowledgement. This right here on our screens is really impressive, right? Where you can see a bunch of players in the backside zone struggling. They're positioned just ahead of those guys, ready to pounce, and then you can get all this loot, you can get all these refreshes. I'm liking what I'm seeing right now from Marius and Sangold.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, you spoke about Chris and Skivvy 11 being in the limelight, sort of a newer team to that. This is one of those teams that I would put under that category as well. Lots of people keeping their eyes closely peeled on this team, because this is a duo that a lot of people have high expectations for. I have high expectations of how they're going to do, and they haven't quite delivered on those high expectations during these FNCS weeks. I feel like I've seen glimpses, some great moments from this duo, but in terms of an overall strategy, in terms of an extrapolated plan, if you like, about how this duo are going to play, we haven't quite seen that yet. So hopefully they can continue this momentum. They have 2 more games here, and hopefully they'll be able to stay in that top 15, because this is a duo I really, really want to see in Grands, because it shows that anyone can pop off at any moment.
We've got to take a look at Shimoki and Wheat as well, because when I saw their name in the lobby list earlier on, I was a bit like, oh yeah, these guys are kicking about. In fact, they might have even been in the upper bracket earlier this week, but obviously they're having to prove themselves and they're having to attract attention now if they want to get through to that top 15 and get through to the grand finals. But 11, are you expecting big things from this duo to continue?
I mean, yeah, look, for Shimoki's a player who's, you know, won an FNCS beforehand. Wheat is this player who's, you know, received a bunch of hype sort of for how cracked of a player he is, right? A lot of talent there. So I was really curious to see how they'd fare together. And I think the big thing is, obviously, things haven't been as smooth sailing. When you're landing Grand Glacier this season, as we know, it can be quite tough out of that spot. And they did struggle when we saw them yesterday. But again, things looking on the up for them. I think they've had some time to see what Nathan and CCP were trying. They've had time to figure out things on their own from where their own games went wrong. So clearly things are finding a bit more rhythm here.
I want to talk to you guys about Storm Surge. Obviously, this has been the big topic. I thought that we were going to be talking more about, you know, the aspect of agility, dash coin that you get from Grim Gate a lot more. And actually, we feel like that hasn't been as impactful this time round. Now we've gone into the set lobbies. But Storm Surge seems to be everyone's enemy. It's not each other. It's Storm Surge that everyone is struggling with right now. And to me, that's surprising, because we are 1 week away from the grand finals, boys, and yet hardly anyone seems to have cracked it. And Mini Miner, why is that? Is this just the hardest mid-game we've ever seen in FNCS?
Yeah, I mean, in Fortnite, in a Battle Royale, there's not many constants, but in Fortnite, Storm Surge is a constant. It's going to be there every single time. You know what the thresholds are. You can kind of predict how much damage you need to do per zone, and a lot of players, I think, are kind of struggling with that, particularly with how many DMRs are in the game right now. This is a new item in this season that's just been buffed a lot, right? This is a sort of new development in the meta in terms of the amount of players that are using DMRs, so it increases the threshold just by so much that to get to that level of being absolutely safe and sound with Surge, you have to be taking fights. You have to be trying to be a little bit more aggressive, because we see even Trulex in that last game, he was riding on the edge of Surge a little bit, but that was all because he built that tower outside of his base using that DMR. So I think it's a mixture of players kind of getting used to the new items, getting used to the new meta, but also how strong some of the Surge weapons are this season.
Levin, what do you think?
I think it's been hard for people to really practice much of what they want to do for Surge, right? Ultimately, when you look at previous seasons, I think maybe there's been harder seasons for Surge, But it's just in those seasons you had a better way to sort of, you know, you had more opportunities to put plans into place and get things wrong, then figure things out and get things right. It's funny, right? When we were talking to Venner, right? He sort of mentioned how he almost wishes he could have played more games just to get a bit more practice with Surge and figure out what they were going to do. I think ultimately, you know, this semi-finals was a good opportunity for people to get that learning experience. But even then, grand finals is always even harder than any other round. So it will still be a learning experience throughout those 12 games. And, you know, these teams are smart, they'll figure things out. But ultimately, yeah, I think it's opportunities for teams to get down what plans they want to put in place has been the problem for a lot of them.
Let's take a final look at the leaderboard before we head into game number 2, because I actually like to go quickly towards the bottom of the lobby if we can. I just want to see who has got to have a monster performance across the next couple of games, because that's the thing, we haven't got 25 spots up for grabs here, we've only got 15. It's not just about getting one top placement with a fewer limbs. Actually, you've got to have a consistent performance across the next 2 games. And looking at Kenty and Finn, I'm surprised that they're finding themselves kind of falling out to the bottom of the pack, or at least towards the bottom of the pack, because actually earlier this week and yesterday in particular, I feel like they were challenging, they were holding their own, but maybe they're running out of steam here, Miniminer.
Yeah, it's tough for that duo in particular, of course, landing at Grim Gate. We've seen them be quite strong at Grim Gate, particularly I think it was day number 1 of this weekend. We saw a lot of those guys performing very well against the likes of Mustache and Malabuka. Of course, now being contested by Cheatin and Kiduo, neither of those guys actually had a very good game there. So it kind of almost increases the reliance on landing at Grim Gate, because now you need a massive game. So you need to get that dash down. You need to make sure you can make something happen and dash around, try and find some eliminations. So I don't think it'll be a change up of a strategy from either of those 2 teams there. I think it's just going to be hoping that they can get that medallion, and hopefully they can make more use of it than we've seen so far this season.
Levin, do you think it's worth dropping at Grim Gate and taking that risk? Do you really need to get that Cerberus loot to succeed?
I mean, you don't need it, but I think it's worth it in most cases. It's so strong, it's so effective. I know it hasn't felt like that on EU, right? Just because of, you know, the mess of how many people have been trying to go for it. But I think there's still opportunities there, right? You know, the game don't lie at the end of the day, right? We've seen in other regions just how strong it can be if you know how to use it and you use it effectively. Do I think now that we will see a bunch of people just try go for it? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I think for a lot of these guys, they've practiced in certain spots, they've had a game plan, you know, sort of set in stone. They'll stick with that. But yeah, don't rule anything out, of course.
Yeah, the game don't lie, neither does Levin, and neither does our 2 commentators, Jacob and Takara.
Thank you so much, Frankie. Jacob, I'm getting excited, but the pressure is on for these players with only 2 more opportunities in these last 2 matches to make it to the grand finals. Top 15 qualifies. You got any names in mind, Jacob? Anyone you're thinking about?
Wow, I just gotta look down my list. I just hope Trulex and Chicho pick up the pace, man. Trulex played phenomenally as a solo to clutch up some much needed points, but they still have 2 more games and a gap to close. And that second game is ready. Let's get on that battle bus and get ready for game 2.
Let us know in the chat who you want to see qualifying in these last 2 matches. 1 game down has already set the stage for the leaderboard. We predicted the cutoff should be around 88 points for top 15, which is about 30 points, let's say, every game to be safe. So if you're able to be consistent, Jacob, you don't really have to do too great in the late game. You just have to make it there.
Yep, around that top 10, top 15, you get a good portion of the points, but most of them are inside of that top 8. And another contested battle right out of the gate, something that we saw, and it was the Thunderbolt of Zeus that really played the difference in this fight, and especially with how early you're able to get it before the team can kind of mount up some sort of a defense or even an offense. You can strike while the iron's hot, and already 7-4s in are just quick to the punch. They have the shields, and they're already moving over to take this fight while they can.
Great use of efficient looting here. Already have the advantage in this engagement that hasn't even started yet, just by the amount of shield they have and loot, which is from winning that drop originally. So now, even though they don't have a lot of materials, it's time, the 2v2. Be careful though, as Akira and his duo partner are full and shield, and Forz it. has just gone in alone, fully eliminated, but the Chains of Hades, can they get the job done? No, they cannot. Both players drop to 50 HP. But Akira...
That's so unfortunate. That is so unfortunate. They had such a good position on the high ground. Don't really know why you would even drop down there, especially knowing your teammate. Yes, he has the Chain of Hades, but he doesn't have any variation of the shotgun. But one fight to the next scroll, once again going down, but Sky saving the day. Sky is putting in so much work in this fight, but from POI to POI, spot across the map, Amos and Theon, they get revenge for game one.
Yeah. They did not come on top in game one, but now they have a chance to make something happen in game two. I don't want to speak too soon, though. As a potential third party, they were looking at the feed. They said, hold on. The Mount Olympus engagement has not ended yet. Let's go see what's up. See if there's any opportunity to make something happen here, but Stillian knows now. They're forced to heal up quickly here as Conan and Colossus are going to look for some options.
Yeah, they hear the heals coming out. They know the fight was ended, so they're hoping their opponents are weak enough that they can take advantage. And they're doing it piece by piece. They're not dropping just in like we've seen in one of the fights early on today. Just quick angle coming through, not a ton of damage, but it's something to give them a little bit of confidence and a little bit of a lead. Amo just trying to get that cheeky little angle. Conan just had enough. He's ready to go on in, but bites off just a little bit more than he could chew. Quickly gets on out, and this is where it gets a little bit of like a chess match. Piece for piece, move for move, until your opponent makes a mistake.
They're doing a good job holding their ground here. Stillian and Ammo. But do they want to fully commit to this engagement? I mean, they don't have a lot of materials. They've already gotten 2 elims. Colossus, though, is going to go up top, see if he can find an angle here. Some sort of cheeky shot to initiate the aggression. You can hear the footsteps close by, but so far no openings.
And this is what we talk about when Mount Olympus being contested, overly contested. Fights kind of get drawn out, take a while. Other teams begin to move in, but I feel like that's just any POI, any position that has a lot of players landing around towards the outskirts. And since there's so many buildings, so many different levels of Mount Olympus, you can see why it takes as long as it is. Nobody wants to get overzealous, drop into a box, unprepared. Especially when a team like this has already positioned themselves. They've already fought a fight. They have most of those pieces under their control already.
So many builds have been used for this engagement. Making good use of the environment, though, to refarm up while the waiting game continues. Meanwhile, back to Akira, who just got into an engagement at his drop spot. They did end up getting 2 eliminations, though, so now Adrix and Amos are looking to see if they can be the next ones to face off against them, but as Adrix's duo partner gets tagged and gets cracked, it's going to make it much more difficult.
Yeah, just trying to peek through any one of these angles, even going through some of the builds. Flowberry Fizz, fight for the high ground is going to begin. Akira and his duo just quickly are able to cement their position up there, trying to drop down, attack from different angles. Almost needs a little help. He needs his duo to alleviate some of this pressure. They finally reunite, and that's when the splashes are coming down, but they're not giving them enough time to fully heal up. They're consistently pressuring, and that could be the shot right there. Great shot by Adrix to back down his opponent. And the couple of seconds that they've been able to get is crucial seconds for them to be able to heal up like this.
2 players have been cracked now. They do have the Flowberry Fizz to recuperate that shield that was lost, and even Bananas to tank the storm. Now that damage has been done by both teams, they're going to choose to leave this duel and continue with their rotate towards zone. They don't want to let it tick anymore. They need to spend time now as well recuperating all the materials that they've just used in this. With both teams having done a bit of damage, it wasn't necessarily a loss for either duo.
Back on over to the other side of the map. I like how we can see one side of the map all the way towards Brawler's Battlegrounds. We go directly over to Grim Gate, and you're seeing how action-packed it is from corner to corner. And it's Cheatin and Kiruo who actually find themselves in possession of the valuable Grim Gate loot. They have the Mythic Gatekeeper, and obviously the Dash Coin that everybody's talking about this season. It's about being able to put it to use. Unlike the counterparts on NA, I feel like in EU, there's been no one that can consistently make it out with his Grim Gates and win games on a consistent basis due to how aggressive some of the players on EU are.
Yeah, Levin was talking about it. I mean, it's quite difficult when you're that contested, especially with veterans of the EU competitive scene. Ooh. If you're able to consistently get the medallion, it can be incredibly powerful. And did we just see someone get knocked out by the Thunderbolt of Zeus? I believe we saw a Noct player get fully eliminated as Walks now connects the initial shot but gets cracked. As this is anybody's game.
Yeah, that's a good way to kind of fire back when he's just trying to break into the box, but a huge health disadvantage. He has no choice but continue to fall down, which might be a blessing in disguise. Vin and his duo quickly rotating over in this position. It's all a matter of do they know it's two different solos, or do they think it's a full duo here trying to stay alive? And this is where they're going to be on the chase. They know exactly where Walks is moving around it on the low ground. They just don't know where that other solo actually is positioned at because Walks is taking a lot of the focus.
They were looking from afar previously. I think this is the duo that threw that Thunderbolt of Zeus, so I think they should know that at least one player has been eliminated, so it's most likely not a duo. It's probably two solos is what's on their mind, which is why they do have the option to play a bit more aggressive here, and so far with only one of them in sight. It is just the 2v1, but you got to be careful. If you're not able to connect your shots, the tables could turn quickly, but last shot gets hit, and elimination now on the board.
Yeah, without seeing that second solo, even hearing that player kind of move around, you see that he's able to disengage for free. One team's curse is another team's blessing. They're able to get out alive. Some of these teams that are going down very, very early here are leaving it into the last and final game to try to get top 15, which almost puts them in a win and you're in situation yet again as X Squeeze, Buzz, still floating around fencing fields. Not too much for them to worry about without teams really getting aggressive at that point in time.
Marius Sangil now up against Diox and Cade. This is going to be an interesting fight with so many duos too in the area and Zone having pulled far now. It just makes it that much more stressful. There's only 2 games left to play out now as well. The nerves might start getting to some of these duos, some of these players, especially if they end up going down early. Cade, Diox, 8 points on the board. Still a long ways to go to be in qualifying range. They cannot afford getting eliminated here.
Yeah, while they're having that battle down below, you see one team on the outskirts watching it, 2 other teams looking like they're moving towards the bunker, and then it looks like a solo, possibly another duo towards the southeast portion. So a lot of attention being put on this side of the map to where you have to be very, very careful. And you almost got to assume, because it is close to the bunker, that other third parties are going to try to let the position not be known. As Marius Sangil looking confident for a moment. But Diox does a great job of continuously creating separation between him and his opponents. And the thing is, right now, Cade's doing a good job of firing back. And Cade and Diox are just so separated that Marius and Sangil could just pick one and go. And they have good chance of at least getting one out of the 2 knocks.
The more time they spend, though, the more potential for third parties come through, and even the zone being so far, the more difficult it's going to be to rotate. But Marius and Sangil doing a good job of controlling this engagement, applying constant pressure and doing good damage, forcing Cade and Diox to get a bit nervous here, as a full box might have just come through. Gets the double at 88, but it's not enough. Marius goes down. Diox now with the knock. It's changed to a 2 versus 1. Sangil is put into a tough position.
And as soon as he goes down, you see the mini-map, the players just immediately beeline it in that direction, which allows for Sangil to get out because they have now been distracted. Only question is if he was actually able to get the reboot card, or does he have to backtrack into that position? One important fight that's congested with multiple teams to another as they're fighting for the forecast tower. While all these bunkers are open up all around them, they're just trying to see zone after zone so they could try to make the perfect plan in terms of rotations all the way to the end game.
Kira's in a wood box here, which is a little scary with players close by. All it takes is one double pickaxe. But they know that. They can hear their opponents, and it looks like they're hungry as well. They know some sort of fight might break out here, but Akira has to work on the awareness. Got shot from the back. Now is going to be forced to recuperate a bit of shield here. Has not got cracked, though, so their opponents don't know yet that they might be a little low.
Yeah, it's, even when they're trying to use that that focus that duo is going under to their advantage. They immediately try to drop down and then get focused themselves. It's kind of the name of the game when you're making so much noise, fighting a prolonged fight. Other teams begin to take note of that. And it does look like they were able to steal away that actual forecast tower. And that kind of leaves you two options. You let the team rotate away. You can kind of follow them in their footsteps knowing they have the forecast tower, or you just get a straight up elimination and take the forecast tower out of the equation altogether.
Clownski and Axe Force now. Close to Grand Glacier, trying to decide. You know, should we go up to that ridge? Is someone already there? I don't see any builds. I think it's safe. Where do we want to position ourselves to get a bit of damage as he finds a nice shot? Once again, making use of the DMR, which has been incredibly popular in these lobbies to get your Storm Surge damage.
Which is a huge change from like seasons past. You know, from hit scan to projectile, DMR becoming more and more of a focal point, a part of the loot and the strategy for a lot of these teams. As Clownski Axe Force, we're trying to climb up the mountain, take some position high above, but they get overtaken by a whole nother team. And this is the team that we saw go down. Van already got the reboot onto his teammate at least once, just north of this current position. So you got to imagine down on Surge, not necessarily the best loot split between the two teams. It might feel like they might not have too many other choices other than to focus the one that is closest to him.
Taking pop shots from above. They're not playing too close here, which makes me think that they do not want to risk anything. Just taking shots from afar, trying to get that position claimed. They don't need any eliminations. They just want that angle on the players rotating through to take those shots from afar. Trulex and Chicho, though, we talked about it, Jacob. This is a duo that we both want to see qualify. Flowberry Fizz, Chug Splashes in hand, now recuperating those materials on their rotate. Waterbending Mythic, though, is going to be applying a bit of pressure onto them. 13th place is where they're currently at with 38 points. We said an average of 30 points each game should be enough to qualify. So far after the first match, they are en route to be one of the top 15 duos that qualify to grand finals. But can they keep that momentum going, Jacob? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, if that doesn't fuel you as Chicho, knowing your teammate basically got 11th place, 2 elims, almost half of the points to qualify, I don't know what will. Jakey and Twy high above Rift Island. Nobody's meeting them just yet. So that's going to give them a huge advantage to look around the map, and it's an advantage that they need. They are 5 below the damage threshold. And I can imagine they're going to continuously fall if they don't find the opportunities that they're looking for. But the Thunderbolt of Zeus coming out, combined with the DMR, they're trying to streak some shots through. The Thunderbolt of Zeus doing some damage to get them 100 over the threshold. And this is the outside of the box thinking that we're seeing teams do this season.
102 above. You love to see it. With the Rift Island just half the way in zone, there's not too many duos up here, or even in the surrounding area. A lot of them have already rotated. Nice shot by Jakey, though, connecting. Still has more shots on that Thunderbolt of Zeus. We'll see how they make use of it.
There's always something new every single game. Seeing Trulex and Chicho tearing down sky bases from across the map. Now we're seeing Thunderbolts coming out of Rift Island. Sweet and Schmokey are going to have to start being a little bit proactive. Center zone, but 48 below the damage threshold. The few teams that they have their eyes on right now are safely boxed up, not really wanting to make too many peaks themselves. So Wheat and Schmokey are going to have to figure out something here because they only have so many heals before they're down to none and still suffering the surge.
It's one of the scary parts of kind of being so centered. As a lot of the duos around you probably have enough damage, which is why they're so deep in zone, versus the ones that are on the edge of the zone that have been constantly staggering themselves and fighting to get those tags. They're looking at the edge, but not too many duos in sight. You said it yourself, the ones that are in sight are already boxed up. And they really need to make something happen here. I mean, they've only got a Flowberry left. Wheat, I don't know what Shimoki has. Dropped some minis, but this is getting pretty bad.
Yeah, and I feel like this is the earliest that we've seen Surge pop on almost all day long. And typically, I'd say Zone 4 is when it started before. It goes down to 74, but this is Zone 5 now. We need to go down to 60 players if you're going to feel any bit of safety. And Schmokey just taking the sacrifice. Shield's getting dropped off, but now he falls below Surge yet again. Even if you're above, if you're only above by mere inches, it's going to turn into a nightmare. 155 below. They almost got sent back to start. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Nothing. Smokey and Wheat are going to have to figure it out from scratch.
They were feeling so good for a second after that DMR shot. Said, okay, 60 above. Boom, 160 below instantly. You can see how quickly they're forced to make a decision now. They literally have to push a duo here. It's going to be Scroll and Sky. That's going to be on the other end of that fight.
This is game 2, and Marius just down on Surge yet again. I don't know where the switch up happening from having these phenomenal games to just hitting like a speed bump in the road. But I feel like if anybody can do it and make something of a game like this, it's going to be Marius, but he's 56 below the damage threshold. Also taking damage to Surge. The banana is popped. It's going to allow him a few more seconds to be able to stay alive. And it's here. It's all or nothing. Harrison He's able to get in, get a couple of shots, but he got eaten alive by the last game winners.
Care package. Dropped off. Wheat Shimoki still below now, in much worse of a situation than just a few seconds ago. One tick away from Shimoki being eliminated. There it is. Wheat now following behind shortly if he's unable to make something happen. Scroll and Sky, though, they're healthy. 107 above. Diox Cade close by.
It's just unfortunate. They were trying to be proactive. They were trying to look for the Surge. Just nothing was working out for them. Scroll and Sky, 164 above before it turns off. So at least have some sort of a marker of where they currently stand in the world of Storm Surge. But immediately, as soon as it turns off, they lose over 100 Surge. But they waste no time picking up a couple more shots and elimination to find themselves in a much better spot.
This is huge, actually. 5 eliminations in 6 zone is a great way to start off your second match. But you got to be careful after getting sniped. 40 HP. I'm a bit nervous. They're just popping minis here. One snipe, one headshot from the DMR could instantly knock down Scroll here. As one shot to the body connects. Almost cracked once again. 43 effective HP and shield. You're gonna have to overbuild here, Scroll. It's not worth it.
I've never been more scared for somebody. Just one DMR shot will take down Scroll, and you kind of add in the fact that zone's pushing him in, shots are coming in from different directions, HP going out the window. Depending on what Sky has, they might even be a chance to regenerate some of that HP because he's fresh out himself. He's just trying to find a spot safe in the zone for now, but it doesn't look like that's a possibility. So many players making this a focal point, trying to take him down, but he finally reunites with Scroll and finds one. He finds a gift towards the backside of the zone, which is a refresh on loot, but does not find the HP that they need.
Scroll gets knocked as well. Not choosing to build a wall for him, as he doesn't have time to get the revive. The pressure keeps coming, but it looks like hopefully maybe the pressure will slow down. But with Storm Surge being active, now 49 players had stopped it, but the damage has already been done.
Yeah, you're seeing a bunch of solos in this position alone with Sky, with Cade. If Tidy doesn't have his teammates still left alive, he's down low by himself. So already, before placement points have even begun to set in, there's about 4 solos running around, which isn't much, but you know, in a lobby full of full duos, full hungry duos to make a grand finals like this, it's not a position you want to be in. But with Trulex giving solos hope in that last game, anything is possible for Sky.
The rotate continues. Sky at 60 points in theory. In terms of consistency, he's done a good job for game 1 and 2 here already, but every point matters. Still has a decent amount of builds to work with, maybe just enough to make it to zone. With the amount of shots that are coming through, the materials are going down extremely quickly. Robin close by, completely cracked. 1 shot away from getting eliminated as well, as Sky now dropped to 5 shield. Just 46 total effective HP and shield as the mini gets popped.
Yeah, it's just a tough spot to be in, especially with so many teams. The ones that even just damaged you at that, still rotating parallel. Sky's just trying to recycle the builds, go through almost unnoticed, but he sees players all around him at any corner, and he's on the most stacked side of zone, but quickly finds a good shot. Not sure he was able to actually clean up the elimination, but he went in for the loot regardless before finally going down himself.
Haris and Skiri from 2 below to getting a nice knock, bringing them more than 100 above from both eliminations there. Great way to pick some up from afar. Now the duos that have made it here to zone have overcome the most difficult part of Storm Surge, but what do they have left over after it is the question. Are they still healthy? Have they used all their shields, almost all the materials? It's going to be the deciding factor on how their next rotates are going to go.
Yeah, and there's still about 4 players that will need to go down in this next zone. When Storm Surge reactivates, then after that, it's another 10 players. So even though you feel safe, Storm Surge turns off. Zone moving in. It's never over until it's over, as Cheatin and Kuduo with the Grim Gate loot still finding a way to go through almost unnoticed. Until then, Cheatin gets most of his shields drained right off, down to just the minis. 106 damage above the threshold as well. And this is where it's scary. All that work you put fighting Grim Gates just to get it this far, and now you're almost forced into a situation where you need an impact frag to keep your game going.
Almost made it. A lot of the duos are going to be on the east side of zone here. You can see so many people struggling, having to refarm anything they possibly can. Just 10 builds for Cheated. Kiddo most likely shortly behind. You know, though, the players are going to be coming in later behind them. They're kind of keeping awareness on check here, seeing if there's going to be any openings for some shots. Chicho Trulex, though. 2 medkits, not too much juice left in the Flowberry as they quickly go for a wall replace. It's a pre-edit. No luck, though.
And I like how they quickly just rein themselves back, not getting too greedy in some of these situations before peeking back through. They hear some of the shots being fired off from down below, and they even see the Flowberry Fizz that lets them know that that player down low is pretty weak. But you see them making the decision with the zone about to move. They're just going to focus on their rotation instead of just putting it all on the line for that one solo.
Do they have enough materials to maintain height? Really depends if zone keeps pulling far or if it decides to pull back. Jake Buka, Cringe inside of the zone, but they've been caught. Not enough pressure to get them eliminated, but Cheatin and Kiddo now forced into a box fight. It's a 2v2. You have to connect your shots here. That's a huge one on the knock. Now hopefully they can recuperate a bit of mats, but you got to be careful. Cheating gets knocked down. Kiddo left alone.
That's Chicho on the other side. They probably saw the coin get dashed around, and they want to go in for that loot. Unfortunately enough, Cheatin with the quick pass on over to Kiddo before going down, saves it. Keeps it under their control, but Robon with a late high ground retake, trying to solidify it for themselves, and it does look like that one's going to come to fruition. Robon, Fast Roki are the new leaders of that high ground.
44 points. They didn't have a great start in the first match. Now looking to recuperate that. They just have to maintain to their position. Kiddo trying to get ahead once again. He has those dashes, but now with 0 materials, not a lot of HP or shield to work with. Just letting the clock tick and the placement points rack.
Yeah, the only thing he really has going for him right now is Storm Surge no longer in the rest of this game. So doesn't have to work, doesn't have to peek, fight for Surge against all these other teams that are sliding down the mountain. Wrong box, brother. But he takes the big hit from the Storm Surge. He's just down to 2 HP. Shots coming in from above, but that elimination was huge because it got him the materials to build this box.
4 extra points. Now, like you said, just 3 more builds to work with after this box has been made. Gotta take a quick peek. Not enough damage for a crack. Now pressure's onto Kiddo. Forced to go ahead. He has a bush he can hide in, but he's gonna force to just try and survive as long as possible. He does choose to sit in the bush. How long, though, before a duo walks in?
Just like Trulex in this last game, these are big solo points. And speak of the man himself, Kiddo goes over the top to try to take him down, but they return the favor. And now the coin has been passed on over to Chicho and Trulex, who's trying to heal to the backside of the zone, giving them at least a fighting chance. But hopefully they don't look up because they're going to see the titans of this lobby. Robon still on above, putting that pressure down. Akira trying to move through, finds a flank onto Finn. Elimination is all but handled as he finally escapes at the tail end of that one.
Chicho has gone down. Akira, though, continuing strong. Just 2 builds, though. He's going to be forced to find an elimination here as he looks for an angle. Connects the shot. Has to pick up the materials, though. Pressure's coming down from above. Dropped to 8 HP. Fastroki has dropped now. They've maintained height in these last moving zones, but they have to close it out now.
Yeah, if they close it out, this is picture perfect for them. The spray coming down from above. He's finally dropped down to join his teammate. Elimination is going to be cleaned up. Fastroki with those newly found builds immediately separates himself and everybody else that's on the low ground. 2v2 situation, and we're moving up a mountain ridge.
The 2v2. The pressure is on. High versus low. Who's going to be able to connect their shots as Vestroki is out of materials. Both players now taking shots back and forth. One crack comes through. Another one from Raban. They have the HP advantage. They just cannot miss any more shots, though. Vestroki goes down, and Raban finishes both players off and secures the win.
You know what? The secret tool for that one, Raban brought his protractor. He was checking every single angle because he had at least 3 or 4 different ones in that last fight, making sure, I know you might go down, Vestroki, but I will be there to avenge you, win the game, and all but qualify to the grand finals with 1 game left.
Not missing a single shot. Elim after Elim doing a great job of holding height in those final zones and playing aggressive at the right moment to close it out. That's a good way to secure your spot in the grand finals.
Yeah, you saw Vestroki just spraying down, getting his opponents weak. He drops down, and these are different angles, in zone, out of zone. Raban is just the man. 5 eliminations simply by himself. Him and Vestroki have to be feeling on top of the world after that one.
That was an insane match, Jacob. It's been non-stop action, and now there's just 1 game left. We've played 2 matches of this lower bracket. As a quick reminder, we had 25 duos qualify from the upper bracket earlier today, and now this is the last chance for these duos to qualify. 15 spots are up for grabs, the top 15 on this leaderboard, and now there's not 3 matches to be played off. It's literally the last chance, the last game, and the last opportunity for these duos to make grand finals.
Yeah, it's really exciting that it's really just coming down to this one moment. With 2 games done, let's take a look at those standings to see where everybody is positioned. We know the top of the leaderboard is probably filled with our most consistent players, our game winners, Riss and Skvi, who've been dominant on the high ground so far, but it's that bubble, that line of 15 that we got to worry about. And speak of them themselves, Riss and Skvi, first place, all that domination on high ground to finally take the top spot.
From the VR to the consistency. Not only that, we also have Trulex and Chicho in 3rd place, so they've been holding on, but that's the cutoff right now, Jacob. Look at that number 15. It's 68 points. We predicted it's going to be around 88 after this next match concludes. So even right now, if you're in the top 15, you see Sanguild, Marius, Rabbit, Nova, all of these duos, they're comfortable right now, but you cannot get too comfortable because it all comes down to this last match.
Yeah, you can't let your foot up off that gas at a moment because all it takes is going down. Not even at the start of the game, Takata. If you go down before that top 25, your FNCS is over. And with how some of these days have been with the consistency in day 1, consistency in day 2, even if you look at the upper bracket to start the day, there was a tie for 25th and 26th place, losing it out, going to the lower bracket on that tiebreaker. So this last and final game is going to mean everything for some of these teams outside of the top 15, and the battle bus is ready, and our last game of the day starts now.
I'm excited, Jacob. We've had 3 days of competition leading up to this point, and it's went faster than I've thought. I mean, 10 duos qualified directly just from a victory royale in day 1 and 2 of the semifinals. Day 3 comes, 25 duos instantly qualify in the upper bracket, but now we're literally at the last chance to make it. The pressure is on, the nerves are active for these players, and we're starting off with an engagement already.
Oh, this is not what you want to have happen. 32 points, and he finally defends the throne. That early engagement. Vispin again, he's been the player out of this duo. Obviously, Chexi's doing his part, but when it comes down to just putting your foot down and not letting anybody cross that line, he has been a driving force for this team. So if you see them in that top 15, you have to give him a lot of credit for fights like that.
Respect on their name. I think they're at 40-something points after that Elim, so they are quite a bit away from qualifying range. But another duo that's also far away, Moneymaker for 8 points on the leaderboard, Jacob. 80 points potentially away from qualifying. They might even need a victory royale or just a high Elim top 3. But I got faith.
Hey, if any team can do it, you know Moneymaker for 9 can pop off. They've been to the global championship. It's just all their points just came from straight eliminations as Ravage is trying to stay alive. His teammate Nova is already down. Adrix and Amos, we've seen them get aggressive when they have a huge advantage, but this time around Rapid's at least able to get the drop onto 1, but Amos is there to save the day, and that's why there's a huge strength in numbers in these early game fights, because you can go down, but that player has to reload eventually.
Sky Scroll now. Last match, they did not have to move from their drop spot. They were able to actually just build up a surge base right on top of the Reckless Railways here. Hold on to it for a majority of the mid game, and they did more than enough damage. There's actually other duos that ended up pushing them because the opposing teams were not able to do so. So hopefully they can maintain that as they're still outside that qualifying range. 16th spot. Say a good 30 points to be semi-comfortable potentially. You never really know. These are estimates that we have in mind. As Hedra and Kirwa. Ooh, what a shot onto Axe Force. Gonna knock him down.
And his teammate isn't even necessarily on level playing field to try to go for the res, so he gets cleaned up with ease. Kerwa gets credit for that one. That's going to be their second elimination as a full-on team, and I would say it's not too much of a worry because of how much distance there is, so the player can drop down, get the reboot card, while Kerwa and Hedra are just going to continue moving forward in their own game. See him checking, see what ammo you could possibly buy from there. Scrounge together the rest of these barrels. This is where they're going to get a good amount of their metal from. If you look at their materials, they haven't really entered the stage of farming just yet.
Edge of the map, though, after those 2 elims, they have a bit more comfortability to plan their rotate, play it a bit slower, and just make sure they set themselves up for the best mid and late game possible. Conan, let's see what he was able to do. Nice little 2-tap from the DMR, showing you how quickly you can get some eliminations. That's over 200 damage, including the finish there, in just a couple seconds. And also now the opportunity to push in for that 2 versus 1 against Alexi, who does not even have any shield to work with.
This is just one of those fights where you see, again, on the minimap, multiple teams, they realize what's at stake and realize how hard Surge is to get in a straight-up fight, so they're trying to capitalize while this team, and there goes the capitalization. Conan just gets beamed by Seb. And you can see Forzen just taking another angle. Even though it's 2 teams down there and they're the 3rd team on top, they have a huge advantage due to their positioning.
Now it's 2 duos and a solo. The ones with the HP and shield advantage is going to be Seb and Forzen, but Conan and his duo quickly enough are healing up, I believe. Yeah, almost back at 200 effective HP and shield. Shots being applied from the side. You don't even necessarily need the eliminations here. You just want to do as much damage as possible. But if the opportunity opens up, you might just have to execute onto it exactly as Forzen's doing here. Just one more shot needed to connect. Hits the player, gets the knockdown. And now it's 2 solos that are in this area.
Yeah. Great scenario for them to be in, separating 2 different individuals from 2 different teams. Gives them the choice if they want to try to engage onto one or the other. We can see one of them's already making that swim down low towards Brawler's Battlegrounds. Meanwhile, well, it's going to say a 3rd party, but at this point, it's a 4th party team on that mountain's edge looking over to see what shots they can get themselves.
Force and Seb now pretty happy with their elimination, as I believe they're going to start making their way towards not necessarily the zone as they're already in it, but kind of the position they want to be in to open up opportunities for even more tags, because you can never have enough damage dealt in these matches. Vortex Belusi. Haven't seen as much of this duo as I would have liked today, but now it looks like they're almost in zone. They're trying to base around this bunker here. And I mean, all it really takes, Jacob, is one solid late game, 1 victory royale even, and it could be enough points to qualify you.
Yeah, it's just hopefully you can handle the pressure knowing that it is going to come down to this one last-ditch effort. And you see, because of that, they're quickly rotating on towards the zone, trying to find their position as fast as possible. And you see 48th place. But they put themselves in the position that a lot of teams have felt all weekend long. Win and you're in, but Trulex and Chicho, they're trying to make up for lost time. Not the best upper bracket experience in the world, but definitely making up for it here in the first 2 games of the day, trying to go 3 for 3 and get their spot in that top 15 locked up.
The amount of 3rd parties we've seen come out, though, in these early games, I mean, you just go for a bit of surge, and then the shots is just opportunities for other duos in the surrounding area to play even more aggressive. Trulex Chicho, not much to lose with 114 points, and on the contrary, everything to lose for Vortex and Belusi with 0 points. One duo doesn't even need to make it to the late game, and the other one needs the victory royale. Two very different positions to be in.
And just that persistence from above. Not even really wanting to put the risk, but Belusi peeks at the perfect time. Tags up Chicho, who wastes no time trying to get the shields back on up. Nobody really knows how long a fight like this will take. So you want to make sure that you're strong and capable of any turn. And there's really... Well, this fight is going down. There's another team moving in for the north. There's two other players just east of them fighting for that bunker. So you're seeing with the last game on the line, there's so much to fight for. Surge, loot, and just simply getting those points and taking one more team out of the lobby.
Diox Cade put into trouble now. Threats in the surrounding area as Marius knocks down Diox. Cade left alone. And that's exactly how Marius and Sangold were able to pick up two.
Still finding a way to come online. That's what we kind of know them to. Wouldn't be exciting without it. Shortz and Chicho still being that nuisance. Just tagging up Belusi, cracking those shields yet again. And they're still that team that originally were right below them, rotated on the other side. But with the damage that they've got onto Belusi, they're just going to continue to follow in those footsteps. Just like you mentioned, they basically got their spot on lock in the grand finals, barring any huge missteps, mistakes, or honestly huge successes by anybody else. So they're feeling comfortable. They're feeling the freedom to be able to fight like this. So even if they do go down, they got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, like we said, they really have nothing to lose, so they are really just making it very difficult for Belusi and Vortex here. They're not even really pushing them. They're just constantly taking shots at them from multiple angles, using their materials, making sure they can't make it to zone. I mean, if I'm Vortex and Belusi, they might just have to make a decision to completely go for the engagement. They don't have enough mats to run away. They don't even have enough mats to build up and fight, so... I mean, they're going to try and just head back into zone. There's not much they can really do here.
Yeah, they got to go kind of backtracking their steps, get a lot of that old loot. Bunkers are opening up, and the team that was originally fighting over there has left it as Chicho just takes a huge shot to the face, kind of stops him in his steps. Good thing Trulex has a pocket full of bananas, so they're not going to waste any time getting their HP back on up, and they're going to go on that chase, and because they're going to chase them on over, they get two options. They get those eliminations, and if they do, they get the bunker as well.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting battle. The Storm fight. We'll see how it pans out. But for now, Sky and Skrull grouped up together. Edge of zone. Long ways to go for the rotation for 9 close by. Taking a look back at this bunker battle. Trulex Chicho putting the pressure on. This one's going to end. And one of the duos being eliminated here. There's no other option.
Yeah. I think Chicho does have some splashes, but I don't think it's really enough to take a very, very prolonged fight. And they're cornering them. They're just pushing them further and further back into the corner. You're seeing Trulex and Chicho being very, very careful not to overstep their boundaries. And this is where the mind games come in. Trulex and Chicho can easily pretend like they're disengaging and wait at the entrance. There's only one way in, one way out. And realistically, you have to go through Trulex and Chicho.
See, Trulex was crouching away, trying to avoid them, hearing those footsteps. Like you said, they don't even know where Trulex might be. But Chicho is going to hold his ground, and Vortex and Belusi have to push him.
And he's getting that wall on the other side. This is going to be a good risk for Chicho, but it's not too much of a risk considering the situation that they're in. Belusi and Vortex on the other side, they're the ones who have everything to lose in a situation like this. I know it's dangerous, but I feel like if they have no HP, I would love to see them try to just rush their way there as quick as possible as Trulex backtracks with the Flowberry Fizz to try to reunite with Chicho. But a huge beam as Vortex is just trying to flank. Is he going to be able to get it off? Yes. Ooh, I was just as worried, Takata.
The bandage put to good use, but what are we even watching right now, Jacob? This is probably the longest fight we've seen in the semifinals. As Belusi's hunting for anything that he can use to heal. The Flowberry is only going to give him shield. As he pops one for a bit of mobility. But with no bandages, no medkit, no nothing in sight, Belusi's going to get knocked down.
Yeah, he knows it. Tries to get closer and closer to Vortex, who has that 30 HP. It's going to be a huge revive train just to get out of this situation. Chulex and Chicho, they're the ones that were holding them back. You see them rotating on in the distance, but they were in a much healthier spot. And Chulex left that fight early to find even more heals, thinking 3 steps ahead of the game, knowing the situation him and Chicho were in.
Shimoki Wheat now 22nd place on the leaderboard. Looking pretty healthy in terms of basically everything materials and loot wise. They are on the edge of zone, which opens up more opportunities to get tags, but also to get staggered behind and have more difficult of a rotate later on in the match. But as long as they're able to stay consistent here and do a bit of damage, hopefully they can secure a solid placement to finish it off. Marius and Sandguild, on the other hand, already at 84 points. They really just have to secure a bit more placement points, so they really do not want to put themselves into any danger here.
Yeah, and you're seeing a couple of these teams that are just inside of that bubble, already down, already out. Just got to sit and just hope that everybody below them gets eliminated before placement points come in. Not really have a chance to catch up. It's Kiduo. Him and Cheatin'. They're in such a good position in that last game. 56 points, though. They still have some more room to improve. And Kiduo, he has to be up for the challenge. He is going to be by himself. Luckily for him, they were able to get at least one of these 2 players down, so it is just going to be a solo on the other side.
4 points. Needs to clutch it up for the victor royale almost here. Kiduo as well, out of qualifying range right now. Both players need a big match, and both players have to do it as a solo. But Kiduo is going to get taken out here, even with the medallion. This would be an insane clutch, Jacob. Medallion in hand, mythic shotgun, full materials, and potentially a reboot coming through. Gets cracked, though. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. They were watching that fight. They saw as the coin had gotten dropped. And they're closing in on the distance. I don't know if Ricky and his teammates see all of this happening and hear the reboot at the very minimum. This is when Velry, Firehunter are starting to enter into the mix. They know he has the dash medallion and they want it for themselves, especially depending on where they're at on the leaderboard. But he's quickly moving, he's grooving, trying to get out alive. But they're hot on the chase, on those heels, not wanting to let him survive. Whether if it's down a layer or up a layer, he's going to meet his demise. But it's actually a whole nother team who gets credit for the elimination, and they're forced into fight after fight here.
Medallion has been taken once again. Now a duo has it in their hands, so this is huge for them for this late game. 72 points on the board. We just need to stay up a little bit longer here. Gonna kind of wait here, I would assume 13 seconds till next zone appears. They have those dashes, so the rotation should be a bit easier for this duo.
Some have an easy road, others not so much. Astral and Art Skill, they're trying to take advantage of this team while they can, because it's not just a win that they need a couple eliminations on top of that. So might as well get them while you're so isolated on the other side of the map. Zone pulling away. It's going to be the best chance that they have to get these eliminations and get their game going before it's too late and everybody's congested closer together and making those fights that much more riskier. Alex is getting backed up. Rick Moore is getting shielded. Both of them just down to just HP. Shots coming in still from 2 different angles, but they did a good job fighting back, forcing Astral, Art Skill a few seconds to heal up.
Ooh. One shot is all it's going to take. There it is, 101. Humble Alex getting put down. As now Astral and Art Skill are going to continue the hunt for Rick Bohr. 1 replace, 1 shot, 24 white. It was not a big one, as Art Skill's been basically cracked here, but his duo partner should be able to clean this up. 2 elims for this duo now.
It's 4 more points right there. If they keep up the aggression in terms of elimination, it lowers the placement that they have to get. But as long as they have a low amount of eliminations, it kind of forces that win scenario due to catch up. Bad Sniper and S double. Very similar position, but just not as bad. They have a 34-point cushion. 4 of those points coming from that elimination that SS Devil was able to achieve so far. And you can see that they're just immediately just trying to go deeper into zone. They're kind of playing that passive route because they're not far down the leaderboard like some of the other competitors in the lobby are.
It's funny because unlike the top teams, a lot of them have gone down already, knowing they're already basically secured their spot in. Axe Force and Clownski with the double chain of Hades, but is it actually going to work out? Just 5 HP, there's no way, right?
Wow.
That's crazy. Lucia. Poor Lucia.
Sometimes you just
Clownski.
can't focus when he's just getting tossed and turned upside down.
Thrown around the room. 2 elims now, though, for this duo.
You can see on the outskirts of the map, zone continuously moving towards the north. That's going to force a congested side eventually on that southern edge, and we're seeing a lot of the teams stagger themselves. They don't even see the edge of zone just yet. Adrix, Amos, 12 points so far. I believe that elimination was kind of stolen away from them. That was Akira who went down. Leaving his teammate by himself, which isn't too much of a worry. You see the 3 med kits, 3 splashes. With zone pulling away, there is a realistic opportunity for him to get Akira back into the game.
Realistic, but not easy. As Adrix is getting chased right now. Or actually, no, he's not. I believe the solo that's in zone is still staying there. So they are going to be able to group up here and figure out which rotate they want to take. The Flowberry, they should be able to make their ground pretty quickly here. They even have bananas if they really have to resort to it, but so far so good.
Floki and Vox high up above, 270 damage above the threshold as well, but only 14 points. As soon as 5 teams go down, those placement points will begin to start to set in. With every team that goes down, you get more and more for your efforts, which is why you see such an importance onto Storm Surge. It's these couple of zones that we see passing before us where it starts to turn on and you realize how above the curve or behind the curve you actually are, and it puts you into go time.
Storm Surge base not actually in the zone, so they are going to be forced to rotate now. Robin Ju, 289 below. They need more than just a few tags here. They need more than a whole elimination. They need 2.
Gee, they're ready to go. Speaking to the cone, getting information of where these players are going to rotate into. Tries to drop on top from above. Unfortunately enough, they're not able to find it just yet, so they have to continue to go on the hunt. A couple of shots are going to be landed. That's going to help him in terms of surge, but it is going to activate now with still 223 damage to go. Plenty of heals split between the two. More loot down below, but it's a decision with only a couple people needing to go down. They might make, and there's some good shots on the weak, but still, you said it yourself. 1 elimination might not even be enough. How about 2? Because they are still 100 below, taking damage now.
51 players up, though, as the clock keeps ticking. How many battles are going on for Storm Surge right now as they're starting to lose a significant amount of HP? Ammo close by. They have spare flow berries. They can use the tank, but how much longer are they going to have the tank?
Especially with somebody peeking through, you got to imagine. Amos is probably down on Surge just as well, but he's scrapped together the rest of the loot that Robin and Ju were trying to save for a later day. 89 below the damage threshold. This is where they're going to try to make that rotation. They got so much distance to cover, knowing I don't think out healing it is going to work. Quickly tries to bob around. Other players are rotating simultaneously, and this is his opportunity, or at least this is what he feels like is his best chance to get the damage needed.
Once again, Flowberry coming through. Still 196 below. They have used a significant amount of the whole lobby's shield, basically, to tank this. And now I think they're quickly realizing that. And they're going to go look for a bit more damage.
Yeah, on the chase for Twy. He quickly turns around and lands a good shot onto Robin.
Oh.
And the tables have definitely turned. Twy's going to take down Robin. I feel like maybe he reunited with his duo or something. I don't know how he was caught off guard, but Ju as well tries to dash his way in. Storm Surge forcing the hand of a lot of players to make decisions they don't normally want to make.
Kaido now in the pressure as the chaos is surrounding him. Even the storm ticking, 193 below. You can eat that banana, but you're gonna need more than that. Trying to see, he has sniper rifle in hand, looking for some quick headshot, a quick peek, but cannot find any options.
Oh, this is just terrible. Back-to-back teams so far below the damage threshold. Trying to out-heal it. Bigger gap of players do need to fall, but there's one way to try to turn the tide. Snipe shot's going to connect, but it's not enough. And they're continuously still falling down. No opportunities really presenting themselves, but as the zone moves, this is where players are going to rotate. And hopefully they can start to land those shots because they are playing so well up until this point. 74 points, Takada. They are outside of the estimated bubble.
This could be a tragedy, but also an insane clutch.
I'm here for that.
With only 39 builds, well, 39 wood. It's only 3 builds. Almost 4, but not even that. After just 3 below. Doesn't even need a big shot to connect here. That's a duo, though. Goes straight into the box. It's 80 blue. No crack connecting yet. Now 64. Just needs a bit of placement, Jacob. They're just on the borderline of qualifying.
Yeah, it needs about like 6 or so teams to go down worth of placement points. 12 individual players. Even when one falls, still don't get the credit for that. 28 above the damage threshold. That's a lot of pressure to put on one player. No builds, no heals, barely above the threshold line, and still need a couple more points before you feel that safety of inside of the top 15.
Good news is, Zone has pulled back, basically. So if he does not go below here, in theory, should be able to hold this angle and find potential tags as duos start rotating in. Like you said, just about 14 points. Could be enough to qualify. That's one elimination and a little bit of placement now. 14 below, 12 below. It's going up and down. As the 25 tag might be enough. There it is, now above. A bit of safety. A few more seconds now to crouch behind here and get as many placements as possible.
Yeah, he has no choice but to wait for all these duos to pass him up because he doesn't have builds to protect himself. He's hoping finally he's the last train in line and that way he can dash to safety. But, oh, she gets downed out. Mo's grind is going to be the one to take him out. Marius now by himself, again, staggering outside of zone. He is below on Surge. The Marius that we know and love, he has to show up here. He has to show up now to try to clutch up some points. He's inside of the bubble, but you want to secure it officially.
Marius trying to see if he can find any shots here, as he has no more materials, forced to get dropped down. 102 points, though. He should be good, as very up above. Maintaining that height. Floki, Vox, 40 points. A long ways to go to qualify. They cannot go down now.
Yeah, with each team falling, those points are going to start to ring in. And this is the position with another one taken down. Amos, elimination points, placement points. Everything's stacking up. Sky and Scroll, they find themselves 90 points so far. They're trying to hold on because they want to stamp their spot in the grand finals. But Sky with no builds, using those dashes, jumbling all around, trying to catch players off guard. While all this is going down, Pixie and Wox use it all as a distraction to steal the high ground for themselves.
This is huge for Pixie and Wox. They needed a massive match to qualify here. Sky, Scroll, gone down at 92. Might be enough, might not. Floki at 50, though. They definitely need more.
There's still a lot of placement points on the board, and sprinkle in a couple more eliminations. If you can grab them, that will be great. Doom and Icy on the other side. Well-placed game one. Put him in contention of a grand final spot, but a huge flank onto Jake Buka. Another one's be found by Floki and Vox. 62 points, slowly but surely climbing up that leaderboard.
Great job staying ahead. Just 3 builds left now, though. They're going to have to start looking back as the maps get split up. A few more builds to stay ahead. Wox still applying pressure from above. Pixie dropping down to see what he can find. 23 builds with 58 points. They might just need to win this game.
Yeah, might not have no other choice. They still need 30. They might need some eliminations on top of that. Don't know how many's left. Quick maps ain't working. X-Force Clowny trying to do some quick thinking of themselves. They have that Flowberry Fizz as they're trying to get all the information of all the teams floating in and around their current spot. As Vox goes down, leaving all the pressure of the world on the Floki's shoulders. And he's so close to the bubble, he can taste it.
Floki is not qualified yet, but he is on the borderline. You said it yourself. Just one elimination might be all he needs. Gets 86. Is it going to be enough? I don't know. Pixie at 72, still up above. Shooting down, raining below as they're getting closer and closer to that qualifying range.
Top 3 situation. There's no guarantees for some of these players still left alive. The focus down from above. Pixie Wox. They're trying to target him down, force the altercation. The chain of Hades comes out from Klowski, but he gets traded down. It's all up to Axe-Force. Velry's gonna fall down, try to play Disruptor. Pixie's there as well. Wox is trying to stay up above. He doesn't want to get caught in the madness just in case it comes down to a heal off. Pixie does it yet again, along with Wox. 6 eliminations and a big game win to force themselves into the EU Grand Finals.
They needed that victory royale to qualify, and they might have just clutched it up in the last match. I'm not even sure. I can't confirm anything yet, Jacob. They might just be on the borderline. What a way to close out the EU FNCS semifinals.
And there's something you said throughout the course of that game. You were mentioning it. You were reminding me. Top players were going down left, right, and center. So depending on which bottom of the barrel teams have managed to make it this far into the end game, the leaderboard could be all over the place. That estimate could be even higher than we thought before. So this is really going to come down to 3 people that could really break it all down, Sakata, and I'm ready to know who it is, man.
Yeah, I really have no idea who took it. The leaderboard has been shooken up. There are so many duos that are right on that borderline of qualifying, so I don't want to waste more time. Let's head on over to the analysts. Let us know what just happened.
Thank you, guys. That was absolutely wild, especially when you consider that Pixie and Vox were 42nd on the leaderboard before that third and final game. They needed to make it into the top 15. They managed to get that victory royale with 6 eliminations, which means they've got themselves a tidy amount of points. But let's face it, nothing less than a victory royale would do for these guys. So really, it's now about whether they got enough eliminations. And apologies, they actually got 7 mini-minor. Do you anticipate seeing them in the grand finals next week?
I hope so. I hope so. I think that would have been the clutch of the century if it is, because they were on, I think, 4 points going into this last game. As you mentioned, Frankie, down there in the bottom half of the leaderboard, very low on the leaderboard, and that's exactly what we wanted to see from a team. This is always what this last game brings in this sort of format. It's what I personally wanted to see, a team that looks down and out, going into the last game, giving it their all, going up on height and saying, you know what, let's just see what happens. Let's just try and play high. Of course, neither of them are particular sort of strangers or not knowing how to play height to it before. We've seen them do that before, but it's like, is it going to be enough? I just want to see the leaderboard. I want to see what's confirmed right now.
Should we see the leaderboard, boys? I think it is ready for us. So let's get to it. Let's see who our top 15 are, and therefore our final 15 juries making it to next weekend's grand finals. Grizz and Skivvy played out of their minds this evening. That's no surprise. We've got first-time major finalists in Finn and Avalo as well, which is fantastic to see. But I kind of want to see the second page, if you wouldn't mind, boys, because we want to see who hit that margin. Was it enough? I'm just scanning, and you can see in 12th position, Pixie is there. He's there with Watts.
That is mental. That is just unbelievable. Big shout outs to Pixie and Wox, man. Players who, you know, have experience here in the EU. If you've been following for a while, I think the way they've done it though is just mental. In the words of the best tackle, they took it by force. I mean, they did not leave anything to chance. They said, we're gonna take height, we're winning this game, and whatever happens, happens. But we have done everything possible, and they, you know, get a worthy grand final spot. As well, big shout out to Twy and Jakey as well, right? Who you know, got that last spot in 15th there. You know, they've done a lot of work this season to put themselves in the best spot. I mean, we are gonna have a very good grand finals, to say the least. We've got a lot of great players gonna be playing in that grand final.
Minnie, do you think we've seen a major winner, though, in the lower bracket tonight? Do you think that this experience has been a good kick for the guys who've had to play until the final moment, for them to go away during this week and just look at the lobby list and go, right, okay, we have got to get a solid game plan because we're capable of taking this?
I mean, as Les mentioned earlier, we haven't had that much practice this season. We haven't had the opportunity to see some of these teams at this top level. This weekend has provided that. It's provided a lot of opportunities for teams to fix some mistakes and hopefully for them go into grand finals with a little bit more of a strategy and a little bit more of a plan than what we've seen from some of our teams. Looking forward to grands. I don't know what we're going to be seeing, right? It's going to be electric. I can't wait to see what happens, because this is one of the first grands in ages where I think we don't have like a clear favorite or a clear few favorites. It seems like it's anyone's game at the moment, particularly with how the Surge strategies are playing and the whole strategy as a whole. Is going to be really interesting to see.
Well, you know what I love? I love a bold prediction. I love a 11-2K guarantee. So before we head off for the evening and let you guys watching at home get ready for the North American action, I want to get a bold prediction from each of you. Levin, come on. Predict me something for next weekend's grand finals. Make people want to tune in, not that they wouldn't already.
You're putting me on the spot here. Predict Peter Bonpoint winning, eh? Oh.
No, really?
It's a copper. I don't know.
I was going to say, that is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, EU is just, it's such a mixed bag. I mean, like, I can promise you this. I can guarantee you this. There will be 50 teams playing next weekend.
Wow.
To try and win it all. I can guarantee you that. 100%. You happy, Frankie? Happy?
Mini Minor. Make me happy again. Smile back in my face.
I don't even think I can top that out of this world level prediction from Levens UK here. Just smoking hot. Unbelievable. You know, I don't think anyone would have expected that. Pulled that one out of the hat. For me, I'm going to make a slightly more bold prediction. I'm not going to say one team, but I'm going to say the top 5 on day 1 at the end of day 1 will look completely different at the end of day 2. I want to see a big shift in the lead 1. I think we will see a big shift in the lead 1. Maybe top 5, top 3. Something like that. Something big will happen. We'll see a big shift, and I'm not going to try and predict the winner right now because I honestly have no idea.
Mini Minor, I'll allow you that. Levin, you've got a whole week. In fact, less than a whole week because we come back on Saturday. So we come back in 6 days' time to work on it, mate, okay?
All right, give me time.
Bold predictions for me.
I'll have something
in
for
6
you.
days' time.
Yeah.
Follow Mr. Mini Minor's example. Maybe DM, discuss what you're going to do. Think about what you've done tonight. I've loved working with you, though. No word of a lie. Can't wait to do it next week. Can't wait to see all of you guys in chat joining us and our 50 final duos. Who will be raising the axe of champions? You'll have to join us to find out. See you then. Sound the horn!